My wife and I moved out of the city and bought a small acreage a year ago. We've been saving for years to live a life free of HOAs and restrictions. The first week after we moved in, we had a lot of people stop by. One of them was Amanda, who almost immediately appeared distressed. She asked why we had peanuts on our patio. We explained that we put them out for the birds and squirrels. She explained that her tween had a severe allergy to nuts and asked us to please stop. As she explained it, birds and squirrels could drop or hide nuts close to her house a few roads over. I will admit I got my back up a bit because we had purposely moved to a rural area to avoid restrictions, but my wife convinced me it wasn't a big deal and we could switch to seeds. We did just so, and while the birds don't visit as much, I figured it was an okay compromise for the sake of a little boy. So we only see Amanda in passing ever since, but we're always cordial with each other. The big issue came 2 weeks ago. I recently started selling things at the local market: eggs, peacock feathers, fruit from our fruit trees, my wife's crafts, and walnuts from the trees on our land, so we've been providing a pretty solid addition to our income. 2 weeks ago, Amanda came pounding on our door. My wife, who is very non-confrontational, answered, and Amanda demanded to see our walnut trees as she had heard from a neighbour that they were on our land. My wife admitted we had about 10 but made up an excuse, saying she had to leave for an appointment. Before leaving, Amanda exclaimed, "10? Well, obviously they'll need to be cut down. Tut tut, we've already had this discussion." This week, Amanda showed up while I was at home with a petition, less than 20 names, demanding we cut down our trees. My rationale was the trees were decades old, and if he hadn't encountered the nuts yet, it would be unlikely he would in the future. She was obviously furious and said, if I had known about them, they wouldn't be decades old. She threatened to bring her petition to the local authorities and call the police for public endangerment. I admit I got angry and was a bit snarky, saying that a mature walnut tree in our area goes for about $500, so if she wanted to offer $5,000 plus the income I plan to make from the nuts every year, plus the cost of an arborist to remove them, I would consider it. She left angrily and yelled I would hear from the police, which I haven't. My wife is on my side but thinks I was an idiot because I said no. A few of our neighbours have said they think Amanda is an idiot, but that I'm also an idiot because the boy could suffer an allergic reaction because of a few trees I'm being pig-headed about. Just hoping others could weigh in. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Does she also do this to stores? You can't sell nuts, it's a risk for my son. And tries to hunt down every squirrel because it could come with a nut or nutty breath too close to her son? Creatures of the devil. Those walnut trees were there the whole time that she lived there, and no nut rolled close to her son. But now that she knows about them, the trees are so dangerous. Amanda sounds nuts. It's unrealistic to expect someone several streets away to cut down trees she didn't even know about for years. Is she planning on ridding Earth of all nuts and legumes? At his age, this kid needs to recognize these allergens in nature and avoid them as necessary for his level of allergy. I would post a no trespassing sign and no longer answer calls from the wild woman. The wildlife can stay though. Anyone siding with her is just scared of being on the receiving end of her nutty tirades. Listen, I have a severe nut allergy and grew up on a walnut and hazelnut farm. Unless I want to roll in the nuts, I'm in no danger. I don't pretend to know how bad this kid's allergies are, but forcing the entire neighborhood to go nut-free for her kids sounds super over the top. Besides, peanuts aren't nuts, they're legumes. If her kid is allergic to nuts, she should know the difference. Of course, he could have nut and legume allergies, but you shouldn't have to restrict what is served or grown on your property. Do start documenting all interactions with her. This is going to get worse before it gets better. My best friend asked me to be her maid of honor, and I said yes. I put aside a good chunk of money so I could pay about $3,000 to be exact. I was hoping I didn't have to spend this much, but just to be safe, I put it aside. I've put out a lot of money for this wedding, but unfortunately I'm currently in a tough spot with money right now, and I tried to make this clear to her but to no avail. So I spent money on wedding attire, shoes, jewelry, accessories, bridal shower, aka decorations, games, food, etc., and I had to go to her wedding itself. Again, I pitched in with her bachelorette party, decorations, food, etc. I even spent the money on a hotel, and I had to spend money on hair and makeup for the wedding, which was about $250 per hour because of the person she chose, who was over budget. Well, we got closer and closer to the date and we picked out bridesmaid dresses. Anyway, we finally found the dress that she picked. I have no problem with the dress itself, it was beautiful. I loved it, but I hated the price. An average bridesmaid dress cost $150 to $200. These were $450 each. There were 6 bridesmaids. I'm sorry, that would equal $2,700. That's like a huge heck no, I've already spent more than I wanted to, and I reminded her that she would have to start paying for these things because I'm reaching my limit. My mother can make these herself for a much lower price. She made mine and Kelly's quince dresses, and she's good at it, so I offered that. Unfortunately, that wasn't good enough, and she, in my opinion, tried to gaslight me, saying that she wanted to get them from here, she didn't want to risk anything happening. I said I wouldn't be paying for this at all. I'm already $1,000 over my budget, so I won't be paying for anything else. She got upset, saying that I agreed to this wedding, I knew it would be expensive, and as a maid of honor, it's my job to do this for her, and I haven't even spent a quarter of what she spent on this wedding. I said, yeah, because it's not my wedding. She started getting upset and raising her voice at me, saying I was out of touch with her wedding style and trying to dictate everything. Finally, that I needed to stop forcing my cheap lifestyle down her throat. She ended it by saying I shouldn't be her maid of honor. I said I shouldn't be there since she feels so entitled to me and my money and left. I got loads of calls and messages from everyone cussing me out, but my flight was paid for, so I still went there, just not to the wedding, and got a different hotel, and boy, people are so mad at me that I have no one on my side here. Everyone and their mother is on my butt right now, so am I the idiot? Wait, what? OMG, since when is it normal for the maid of honor to pay for someone else's wedding expenses? Heck no, she sounds like an entitled leech, and you even offer for your mom to make them for her. Not the idiot, I truly agree. Also, $3,000 is a lot. Wow. If you're being asked to pay, then you set the budget. The bride wants the maid of honor to pay? Fine, the maid of honor gets to pick everything. My money says the wedding is at the courthouse. The bride wants to pick, then the bride pays. I don't know where you live and the wedding traditions there, but overall it seems like you're paying for a lot more than you should be as maid of honor. I've never heard of the maid of honor paying for all the bridesmaid dresses. I've heard of the individual bridesmaids paying for their dresses, or the bride. I've also heard the same about hair and makeup. It seems to me that the bride is taking advantage of you and wants you to pay for things that are traditionally the bridal couple's responsibility. Of course everyone is mad at you. Now that the gravy train has left the station, there's no one left to mooch off. That bridezilla doesn't seem much like a friend anyways. You're better off. Also, a wedding should be about celebrating a beautiful moment among friends and family. The obnoxious spending and behavior of these events have got to stop. Get as much money back as possible and lose this friend. I, 42 female, have a son, Jax, tween. He recently entered 7th grade and he's very talented when it comes to math. He's always enjoyed it, and I'm proud that my son is interested in this subject. I went to my sister-in-law's 31 baby shower and I brought Jax along. I'm divorced. My sister-in-law and brother, 36, played some games with the other children and adults in which a prize could be won. My brother brought out a jar filled with gummy bears and said if anyone could guess the closest to how many bears were in the jar, they could keep it. Jax knew how to solve it with some complicated formula. He grabbed a napkin and a pen and started solving it. He yelled it out when he got his answer, 62 bears. A man yelled out 65, which he got it because it was the exact number. He noticed how much work my son was doing and said an answer that was close to his. Jack started saying how unfair it was that he didn't do the work and got it, so he ran up to him and pushed the jar out of his hand, causing it to shatter into pieces on the floor. Everyone looked at Jax, then at me. I didn't say anything. I knew that the man didn't deserve it because he didn't do the work. The baby shower mainly was sister-in-lawment after that. Luckily, my sister-in-law had a mini sweep and broom in her car which she brought out. I helped clean up the mess. After the baby shower, I received texts from people there telling me I had no sense of responsibility for my son and that his behavior needed to be fixed. As for the man, he had no reaction when it happened and he left early. I feel like the idiot, but I also feel like the man deserved it. So, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Great job, Mom. You're leading him on the path of juvenile detention or jail. Your kid is a brat who acted violently and ruined a baby shower. Don't enable this behavior. Losing graciously and dealing with disappointment constructively will get him a lot farther in life than being better at math than his parents. And no consequences for his actions. He is a tween. Why wasn't he cleaning up the mess he caused with his outburst at his loss? Ah, right, because Mummy Dearest is there to shield him from consequences. What happens when he hurts someone? Will you go to jail for him instead? Because he didn't give a damn if that glass jar smashed into someone. You are lucky this time. Teach your son how to be a human. People care more if he's safe and positive to be around than if he can do some insignificant calculations to win candy. It was supposed to be a guessing game. Doing the work is cheating. Your son lost fair and square, and then he threw a destructive tantrum over it, and you enabled it. Also, the man who guessed the exact number deserved to win. End of story. LOL, how is that cheating? He didn't take the gummies out of the jar and count them one by one. He used his wits to solve a problem. He was definitely a little idiot and sore loser about it, but you got to give the kid some credit. Jax is allowed to be disappointed and express his feelings, but allowing him to smash it is quite frankly immature for his age. Jax needs to learn to take these things in stride and should have been made to clean up the mess. Sister-in-law shouldn't have had to touch it. I, 19 female, lost my dad when I was 6. He and my mom didn't have the best marriage, so she was dating 6 months after he died and met her current husband 11 months after his passing. She introduced him to me right away, and she did ask me how I felt and wanted to know how I was doing, but nothing I said really made a difference to the pace of their relationship. They started having babies immediately and had 6 children together, ranging from tween to toddler. The biggest problem here is with the 3 oldest kids. They're kids, so again, I could be a huge idiot for this, but here goes. Around 3 years ago, the 3 half-siblings I mentioned started telling me to call their dad, Dad. That's what it started with. He's not Jim, he's Dad, kind of thing. I explained to them that he was their dad, but not my dad, and I showed them photos of my dad. After a while of that, they told me it was too mean not to let him be my dad, though, since he was the best one and he wanted to be my dad too. I told them that didn't change who my dad was. I asked them how they would feel if he died and Mom brought home a new dad. They told me that wouldn't happen, that was wrong, different, and all sorts of stuff. I brought it up to Mom and their dad. Mom told me she talked to them a few times, but they continued coming to me. When we had a virtual graduation party for me last year, my then tween half-sister, now 1 year older, corrected me in front of everyone for saying how I was sad Dad had missed this part of my life. She told me he didn't miss it, he was right here. My mom tried to quiet her, but she shut me down a second time. Other stuff has happened in between, and then 2 months ago, I was briefly home for a week, and during that time they were going crazy on correcting me. They even had the younger ones copying them, and then they told me they were glad my dad was dead and that he wasn't important. He was dumb. I was dumb for missing him and not adopting their dad. Some of what they said felt very mature and like something someone else had said, but then they just kept repeating it over and over that they were glad my dad was dead and it made them happy. I used to call home to talk with them a few times a month, and now I haven't, and my mom called to get me to, but I told her I won't talk to them until I get a real apology and until their behavior changes. She told me I needed to be an understanding adult about this. I told her no. I told her the fastest way for me never to have anything to do with them again is to hear over a long period that they're glad my dad is dead and that my dad doesn't matter. She told me that would be extreme. I told her I don't love them more than my dad, and hearing them talk like that about him would fracture our relationship beyond repair. I told her 3 years of dealing with this stuff for it to worsen is too much. She and her husband called me out for being wrong about this, so I'm here to ask, am I the idiot? Oh wow, I'm sorry you are dealing with this. They might be kids, but they're old enough to know it's not right to tell someone you're glad their dad is dead. That's mean and nasty and hurtful. Not the idiot, OP, but your mom and Jeff sure are for not nipping this in the bud when it started. Saying they're just kids only means they'll grow up thinking this harassing and bullying behavior is okay. You're doing the right thing by limiting contact. Likely because at least Jim is behind this and either the mother knows and has done nothing or she's behind it. The kids didn't come to this conclusion on their own. While kids are a lot more switched on than we often give them credit for, this is straight up manipulation from a parent. Given her mother is trying to get OP to be a doormat under the guise of being an adult, she's trying to manipulate OP so the mother can go back to getting what she wants and ignoring OP's emotional needs. All frankly points to the mother being as guilty as Jeff. Agree. Your half-siblings seem to be repeating what they hear around their house. Your mother and stepfather, in my opinion, feed into their behavior and treat it as acceptable. Your feelings and thoughts about this whole situation are validated. Do you have all his pictures or other memorabilia you would like to keep? It wouldn't surprise me if someone destroyed them. I feel like I was right, but my mom chewed me out over it, and so did my aunt and uncle. My brother got mad at me too after I said it. My brother is divorced. His wife was paralyzed from the waist down because of a car accident, and their marriage didn't survive the aftermath. My brother filed for a divorce a month after the accident. I know nothing about my former sister-in-law since the divorce. I know it was a hard situation for everyone involved, and I couldn't imagine. I called him an idiot because he discovered she won the lottery last year. I don't know how much, but he tried to take her to court to ask for spousal support even though the divorce was 8 years ago. He lost, and he's still salty about the loss. I laughed at him for thinking he could get money from his ex-wife, who he hadn't seen or talked to in 8 years. But he still thinks he should get a piece of the money, and I called him an idiot because he thinks that. He ripped into me, and my mom said calling him names was inappropriate. I only called it as I saw it, so does that make me the idiot in this situation? On the other hand, maybe I was too harsh and should have said nothing. Not the idiot. Through sickness and in health, right? I can't fathom filing for divorce 4 weeks after a spouse suddenly became paralyzed. This guy is beyond horrible. He left when she had bad luck and thought he deserved some of her good luck. Sounds pretty idiotic to me. Your brother is a pig who wanted to rob his ex-wife's bank. No man files for divorce in 30 days from a life-altering accident, medical condition change with someone he loves. He saw that his wife would be impacted and dropped her when she was at the lowest point of her life. He deserves nothing from her and deserves to be called far worse. Moron, failed gold digger, recipient of karma. Only calling him an idiot seems tame. But let me guess, brother is mommy's little favourite. My mom said it was inappropriate to call him names. If your mother's first reaction isn't to burn with shame over the way your brother spoke, to drag him by the ear to the front door and scream to all the neighbours, "Look at this horrible son I raised, anyone who wants him can have him," and lock him out, then she is an idiot. Your mom, aunt and uncle are frankly enablers.